Hello, and welcome to episode 202 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right. Just a couple of regular guys drinking some irregular beers, sometimes highly irregular, and talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client MTG Arena.
That is right, and this episode is our first Sips episode of the Edge of Eternities set, one of my favorite episodes on the podcast. We will get into everything, but things to look forward to. We will be talking about some of our pre-release events this weekend, as well as cards that we think are worth a slot in your standard decks. However, first, each week we bring a beer, we drink it, we rate it on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. So with that, Jeff, what is on tap?
All right. So this week, we have a beer called Cactus Juice,
Yeah.
which is a prickly pear sour. And it's made by Steadfast. Now, Steadfast has a bit of a history now, a bit of a building up a bit of a name for themselves on the Arena Regulars podcast
Hmm.
as being able to take beers that I usually think are shitty
Yeah,
and make good versions of them. And
that's right.
so I honestly must classify a pear sour as a beer that I would usually think is shitty. So
Hmm.
um, let's just see if their trend continues
Hmm.
or if it was all a fluke.
I don't know. We had a great maple beer. There's another beer I actually
That one
can't
really
remember at the
shocked me.
moment.
The maple beer was the real surprising one. I think it was the first one, and then
It
subsequent
was.
ones. I was like, they made a maple beer work. I don't know. They could do anything.
Oh yeah, the other one was the peppers,
The
right?
chili, yeah.
There's a chili beer. So those are two
I
beers that
always
we
hate.
literally have on a list of like never ever order these because they're going to be pretty awful. And this brewery has been able to like make all of those nice. Also, this beer
And
says
not
that
just like passable versions. They were good.
they're
So,
very good.
yeah.
This beer does say it's the quenchiest. So,
Mm. Does that mean I have to like pay 2 mana or I lose the beer?
oh yeah, yeah. It's just gone. It's just disappeared into the
Boo.
boo. But anyway, Jeff, let's crack open this cactus juice, see if it lives up to the other beers that we've tried from them. All right. Oh, nice. I feel like it's a little foamy.
Yeah,
I might have
mine
been,
foamed right up.
I jostled it around a little bit too much. Oops. My bad. But anyway, we have some magic news.
This
Edge
looks like a cider
It does
almost.
actually kind of look like a cider. It's like a pinkish in color. It looks brown on the podcast, but it's like it has a pinkish hue.
Yeah.
Anyway, uh cheers. Edge of Eternities is officially released on Arena.
Woohoo!
However, there were some issues today. Let's just call them
Really?
that.
Whoa.
Well,
I'm
Jeff,
shocked.
okay, I just want to say that the last few releases that we've had, like all the ones this year, have had like basically no issues.
Hmm.
Final Fantasy, no issue. Like Tarkir, Aether Drift, I don't remember any issues. The way that we used to have, where it was like, okay, everybody stop playing. We got to figure this out, kind of thing.
It used to be like, is it actually coming today or is it tomorrow?
Is it tomorrow? Or it's like, oh, you could play at night, but you will never be able to play. Like, don't even
Right. Like,
try.
don't even try at 11 or whenever it
Yeah, yeah.
claims it's going to be live. Yeah.
So I had a fun experience today where most of the time I'm usually trying to do something else, but I'm kind of in between games right now. I'm about to start a different Final Fantasy game. So I was like, well, let's just play some Magic or let's talk about Magic cards until the release. And so I was doing that on my stream. And once it was up and running, immediately jump into a draft. And it is so rough, Jeff. Like, it was the roughest draft I've ever had. Where, like, multiple times you're having that situation where you like click a card and it like passes the pack, but you don't see the card in your deck, and you're like, "Where is my card? Like,
Oh,
what's going
no.
on?" And there were a couple times where it booted me out of the draft, and then there would be the button on the thing that just said "Start Draft." So I'm like, "Okay, did it just boot me from the draft like completely?" I'd click that button, I'd go back into the same draft, but it would have skipped my turns picking
Sure.
cards, but
Yeah.
didn't pick cards automatically for me. I was just down cards. So I was
What?
legitimately like at the end of the draft, I had less cards than I was supposed to have in a draft. And
All right, that's pretty fucked up.
the two times that it actually happened was end of pack one into pack two. So I missed pack two, pick one completely. I missed the pack that it was just gone. Same thing happened end of pack two into pack three. I missed my pack three, pick one. Like it was,
Pack three, pick
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. So it was just like all the pick. Like I basically got to like pick my first like pack one, pick one, and then the rest of the packs I didn't even get to see what they were because I just missed them completely. We finished the draft. I'm trying to build my deck with whatever remnants of a deck I have left. Luckily, I have enough playables that I could actually do it,
You're just kind of
and
hoping the same thing happened to everyone else. Like
possibly,
their decks are also fucky because
yeah.
they have too few cards.
I tried to like save my deck and go and play the games, and when I would do that, it would say there was an error, and then I would go to the main screen and it would be like build your deck, and I'd click the button and it hadn't built my deck. I'd have to start over
Oh,
building my deck.
I've had that happen before. It's sealed and it was killer.
So I did that a few times, and I was never able to play an actual game. And I restarted the client to see if that would help. And when I got back to the client, basically all the queues for like Edge of Eternities were gone, and there was no Edge of Eternities events that you could possibly play. Everything was shut
I,
down. Rank was shut down. It was like, oh, full reset, turn everything off. And it was basically every streamer was just like talking about cards again. And I was like, so I did that for a while, and eventually I had to just stop streaming. So it was a pretty rough launch day for me personally. Eventually, we did get the client, and people have been playing it. So it's all good now. But the first couple hours were pretty brutal.
I I am so confused sometimes about how Arena is coded because weird stuff happens in code all the time. Where you're like, how
Hmm.
is this error possibly happening? And then when you
Yeah.
figure it out, it makes sense. But like, this is just adding new cards. There should just be like a database of cards that it pulls from. You just kind of insert a bunch, and you just
Hmm.
got to make sure you're coding all the new mechanics. I don't
Well,
understand how it could have this effect.
oftentimes it would have like server issues, but I don't really know why that would be an issue. But like also, we did the
No, but
streamer
this is
event last
like
week.
it should never, you should never be down a card in a draft. That is such a completely new phenomenon. It's
It was
like,
absurd.
obviously they figured it out and traced it back to like, oh yeah, when we coded this mechanic for some reason. But like that
Something.
shouldn't even touch the draft interface, So
Hmm. It was
very strange.
absurd. Um,
Some missing card art or something just fucked
yeah,
everything. Like it's always weird stuff like that that you would never think
but
of.
it was just so strange because the streamer event had happened last week, and everything went off without a
Right.
hitch,
You're able to draft fine.
and that was in the client. It was in the same client. It wasn't even the other way
I
they
bet
did
that's what
it.
it is. I bet this new
It's
way of doing that streamer event
fucked up some
is
stuff.
what fucked things up because that's actually infrastructure changes, not just
Yeah,
adding new cards.
exactly. So that is something that's a little bit different. Um, so hopefully the next ones there won't be any issues. But it was a little bit of a rough day. So I was not able to draft any Edge of Eternities today, like I was planning, which is a bummer. But it just kind of reminds me of like Streets of New Capenna, where we didn't get to play for like 10 hours, and then like I don't think
Yeah.
the client was up until like
This used to be par for the
late.
course.
It was normal, yeah. The first day was just
This
like
is like weird version of it. Usually you just can't play or
exactly.
like you get kicked out or whatever. But
It was just the weirdest draft I've ever had. Yeah, most of the time
but
I would
did you get your gems back?
I had to I have a ticket open with
Oh my
WotC,
God.
and
They
so
should
they
just automatically
I
give
know,
that.
and they said that they had give because I bought it with gold, and they said they gave me the gold back, but they didn't. So now I have to like
Oh yeah,
keep
that's happened to
hounding
me
them.
too. Where they were like, "Oh yeah, we gave you the gold back," and one time they shorted me like 1,000 gold or something. I'm like, really?
Really, just
Like, really?
just
I very clearly spent like 10. You thought I spent 9,000? What did I spend
uh,
9,000 on? Like, there's
what
nothing to spend 9,000 on.
just give me. Honestly, you should just give me more. Just give me two
Yeah,
drafts
right.
worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you gave me two drafts worth, I wouldn't be talking about it on my podcast right now.
It's
Which
the
I
uh
mean,
it's the Uber Eats approach to customer service. Like, oh, you
exactly.
had a
Just
terrible ex service and the guy ran away with $50 worth of food. Here's a $5 voucher. Like,
yeah, it
what?
was like Great.
No, give me my money back.
Awesome.
It's the
Yeah.
bare minimum.
My wife used to do this thing where just with regular Ubers, oftentimes the ones in the city can be really aggressive drivers, and she just does not like that at all. And
Yeah.
whenever she feels super unsafe, which like doesn't happen often, but there's a period of time where it was
It
like every
definitely can
single
happen.
driver was
Yeah.
bad. She was constantly going and complaining about them. And Uber just, as soon as they got the ticket, they're just like, here's your money back. Here's your money back. And it happened all the time. But it also tanked her rating. Like,
Mm.
because of that, she would get worse Uber drivers because her rating was so bad. Because
See,
she
Uber
always
should figure this
complained.
out because this just is more money that they have
It's
to get
just,
back.
yeah, it's like this circle. It was, that was many years ago. So I don't know if they've changed it since then. But wow, it
Now
was
they probably have you talk to their crappy chatbot that's like, I'm sorry you had a negative experience.
probably,
Like,
yeah.
do you want me to send you another Uber? Like, what?
No,
No.
I'm already at home. I just had a bad time. I want to like talk about this. That person should be flagged if there's multiple incidents. There should be.
Yeah, but I literally would get that. Uber Eats especially. It's like, yeah, this guy took my sushi, took him
Mhm.
an hour, and then he just canceled the order and drove away with my sushi. And it's like, I'm sorry to hear you had a frustrating experience. Do you want me to place the order for you again? Like,
The-
no, I want
no,
you to give me my money back.
give me
Like,
my
what are you
money back. I
talking
didn't
about?
get anything.
Yeah.
And what the hell? Also, blacklist that guy or something.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. It's not the same as like there used to be days early on in Uber with and Lyft where like remember when they would do ride shares? I don't know if they still do that. I'm pretty sure COVID just like axed that whole thing.
Mm,
But where you could like be in the same Uber as somebody else, right?
right. As a total rant, like you can obviously do it with your friends and be like, drop me off here, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
but yeah, you used to be able to do the thing where it's like there's three people coordinate. There's Ubering and Uber coordinates its pickup and drop offs between
exactly.
those three, and
And
you
so
like
like
share the cab.
and sometimes if you have a really long distance, it's like you have to do all these detours to pick up other people and drop them off as you're going. It would happen to me in
Yeah,
San Francisco all the time, and it was so annoying. But it was also the cheapest one, so I could take an Uber.
yeah. I'd
Like,
always pick it, and I'd always regret it because I'm
yeah,
just like, what is this algorithm? This is a
yeah.
horrible, like,
But I also remember talking to some of the drivers where they're like, it keeps you in a loop of you can never stop because you have overlapping passengers constantly.
right.
And
It
so it's
makes
like
sense.
if you have to like go to the bathroom, you're screwed. You have to like cancel a bunch of rides,
And then get
which
back in queue.
and it
Right.
tanks your rating and you have to cancel them until you're like I'm not working anymore just to stop and go to the bathroom and then get out
How do you
because
even just like end your shift? You know?
and this is what I'm saying like oft many times after I'd finished like my shift at the bar I was working at, I would try to get a lift and I could see them coming close and then you'd see them get on the Bay Bridge and go to the East Bay and you're like you are not coming to get me, like you were full on just done for the night. I'd be like
Yeah.
can I just, but in the app I was like I want to get out of this but like I don't want to cancel it because I'll get charged, so I'm like
Yeah, I can't cancel because it'll
yeah,
tank my rating. They have
yeah,
to cancel.
but they don't want to cancel because it'll tank their rating and
Yeah.
hurt their whatever. So it was a bunch of like, oh my god, the system is so screwed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, long Uber tangent and Lyft tangent, but I guess I just had to get that off my chest. I don't know where that came from,
Yeah,
but
didn't know that. That
yeah,
was laying dormant.
it was weighing on me. Other Magic news: the standard rotation has officially happened. So if you'd like to log into your client, play without the cards that are from 3 years ago, you're good to go. It finally happened. No more Shieldred. Yay!
That card was overrated.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, whatever. It's still annoying. I'm still happy I don't have to play against it. It's fine. I did want to
See,
mention
I'm happy that it doesn't just like every deck I make, I look at the 4-drop slot and I'm like, I need to justify this over just
overshoot.
playing
Yeah.
Shieldred. Like, I know Shieldred doesn't really synergize with my deck at all, but is this really better than just playing Shieldred?
Than just playing
And a lot
Shieldred.
of times the answer was no.
No. Yeah.
Sometimes I was able to convince myself, but
Yeah.
often it's just like, ah, cut him, Shieldred.
Shieldred.
And
Exactly.
dex win rate spikes 10%.
Because sometimes you just cheese them out because they're like, oh, I have to draw a card every turn and I can't kill this thing. So
And even if Shieldred doesn't synergize, often it actually does because you're like, oh, I actually do a lot of looting, and that
Hmm.
this just gains me a fuck ton of life.
Yeah,
Like,
just randomly, and it's like, oh, sick, or just punishes your opponent for looting.
yeah.
One thing I want to remind you all that alchemy also rotates, but alchemy's rotation is on a separate thing than standard. So standard is the last 3 years, alchemy is the last 2 years. But something new is that alchemy has decided that it didn't have enough lands for its mana bases. So they have introduced the check lands, all 10 check lands to alchemy. They are legal for this
All right.
rotation period, which continues to make me feel like this format is just completely made up because
Oh yeah. At this
nobody
point, they're not
is,
even shy about that. There's
no,
no more like this is standard but digital version.
not even close. Because that also means that they have the shocks and the checks, which are notoriously fairly good with each other. Um,
Hmm.
so it's just like
Well, I mean, shocks are good, and then checks get a lot better when shocks are
when
there.
shocks are around, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like, okay, what? What? Fine. Sure, we'll add these. It just feels strange to me. Like, what's the point of this? I don't know.
But
Anyway,
some
I just
part of me feels like this is just where junior devs or like junior designers go to like get them some real world experience and be like, see,
totally,
it's not as easy as it looks, man. You know,
yeah. Everybody
they're just out in
hates
the
your format.
trenches.
It actually reminds me of the There's this actor thing where a lot of actors, myself included, you'll do a bunch of plays and like, practice scenes and scene studies that are like really good writing.
Hmm.
Like you're doing Shakespeare or like Chekhov or like
Right.
Tom Stoppard or great playwrights. But then when you're actually auditioning for stuff, you're going out for roles that are just like cop number three or like whatever, some random train victim in the hospital, and you have one
Written by
line.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or just some bullshit in the procedural. And it's like these scripts are actually horrible, and your job is to take something that's garbage and make it good. And
Mhm.
that's what the
Make it
majority
like
of,
not stand out on screen as we like, what the fuck was that? That was super dumb and terrible.
yeah,
Right.
but you want it to stand out in the opposite way, where it's like, wow, this whole show sucks except for that one person's really good. Why is everybody
Right.
else shitty, but that person's great? They must be a really
Yeah.
good actor.
Why
And
is
that's
cop number three so
like,
well written,
yeah,
but
yeah,
every other character
it's
is
terrible.
garbage?
So, and that's like basically what it's like being a working actor after you get out of school. It's like you just have to make things good when they're garbage, and that's kind of what they're just giving all the new devs like, here, if you can make alchemy good, then you're amazing, right? Then we
Yeah,
can
then
move you up.
then we get to put you
Yeah,
on
yeah. It's
historic.
yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what it feels like, that what's going on with that. But ugh, rough. Jeff, also, we have a little bit more news. I know we want to get into the set, but I'm specifically talking to you about this because you just, like many Magic the Gathering players, might have problems remembering when certain events are in certain parts of the month. So, I thought maybe I would help everybody out
No,
and I would just list some of the events that are happening.
I do appreciate that
Yeah,
actually.
over the next 3 weekends, we have a lot of stuff going on. This weekend, there is nothing exciting happening besides Edge of Eternities is out. That's sweet. But August 8th through the 10th, we have an Arena Direct event, which is for an Edge of Eternities collector booster box. So check that
Mm.
out. Those events are pretty sweet, and you can definitely win some product, which is always fun to play at High Stakes Limited, which is also the following weekend is the Arena Open, which is August 16th and 17th, where you can win actual money, $2,000. Very exciting stuff. And then the weekend after that, there's more High Stakes Limited. It's all limited all the time in August. And the qualifier weekend, which Jeff notoriously can never ever make because of certain situations. It's Edge of Eternities Limited, August 23rd and 24th. That's when the weekend is for all those who are qualified or want to qualify in the plans, either the 22nd, the day before, or the week before. There's another one. So we will remind you on other episodes of the podcast. But I think at the beginning of the month, it's just kind of nice to get a nice refresh of what all the stuff's going to happen throughout the month.
Yeah, it's cool. All the high stakes limited. It's nice to see. I kind of wish the Arena Direct was this weekend because it'd just be like so chaotic to have a brand new format. Everyone's
It,
playing for something
something,
instead of
yeah.
nothing. But I understand
The
also
first
why maybe you don't do that.
Yeah, I bet that you can get more people to play in it the second weekend
Yeah.
because they'll feel a little bit more empowered, I'm sure,
Yeah, and the
as
Arena
opposed to
Directs are expensive. So
they are expensive. I think this one might be a little bit cheaper than the Final Fantasy one. I think the Final Fantasy one was a higher price point because of the Universes Beyond. So I think this one is a little bit cheaper. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere in an article months ago. But very exciting stuff. Love to see it. High stakes limited. But I was gonna say I also wish it was this weekend because next weekend is it's my wife's birthday, so we're gonna be doing a lot of stuff, and will not be Magic will not be part of the birthday festivities. So
that makes sense.
yeah. It if you know my wife or have seen our videos on Instagram, you know that well she enjoys parts of Magic, but not the me playing part. I think no, she's fine with that. Not that she doesn't like that, but
It's like, oh, I didn't know
obviously
that.
obviously on no sorry that makes it sound like she hates it. No in the obviously she we don't play Magic together. She's not a
Right.
Magic player. All right, Jeff, what I want to know is how was your pre-release this weekend? What happened?
Yes, I did go to a pre-release. I went up to a
Hmm.
Friday night pre-release, which
Hmm.
means presumably nobody had played the set at all, unless anyone was a streamer or anything like
Hmm.
that, which is always fun. And I went to the board game cafe that my friend and I, Ryan, always go to when we decide to go to a pre-release, and had a few beers and just had a great time. I I had a very interesting pool. I had like a healthy mix of everything. Every
Hmm.
color was kind of exactly the same, where there were like a few of what I considered strong commons, maybe an uncommon or two that was good, and then a bunch of things that I considered to be less desirable
Hmm.
commons or uncommons or total garbage.
Garbage. Yeah.
So there was no real clear direction, but I felt like my blue and my green sucked less, like we're a little deeper than the other colors. Um, and what I happened to open, my rares weren't anything to
Hmm.
write home about, with the exception of I opened two copies of Starfield Vocalist. Now, this is for those who don't know, this is a 4 mana 3/4 that's a creature, human bard. If a
Hmm.
permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. And it also has warp, one in a blue. So I played blue green Panharmonicon
Hmm.
because I didn't have good ramp targets. Like I wasn't ramping into anything, and I actually didn't have
Hmm.
good ramp enablers. I just had like decent blue and green cards, but I had a lot of stuff with ETBs
Hmm.
and some landfall stuff. Um, I had the green rare Might Form Harmonizer,
Mm.
which is two green green for a 4/4 with warp 2 and a green has a landfall. Whenever land you control enters, double the power of target creature you control until end of turn,
That does
which
sound
would
fun.
indeed trigger the
Hmm.
Starfield Vocalist. And doubling again is much better than doubling just one time.
It's true.
Um, but then I had a bunch of like the commons that put +1/+1 counters on stuff and give everything with a counter on it trample. I had like
Hmm.
two of those, I think.
Drix Fate Maker. Yeah.
Um, yeah. I had an anti-causal vestige. That was the best rare I opened on
Oh,
pure power
nice.
level, which is
Hmm.
the only Eldrazi in the set. It's the 7/5 for 6. When it
Hmm.
leaves, you draw a card and put a permanent from your hand into play, less than or equal to the number of lands you control. and then has warp 4. So really common play was to warp this, draw a card, and then slam the vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
And that deck was wacky, and
Mm-hmm.
it ended up going 3-0. So
Whoa. Okay.
yeah, I had a pretty tight round two where we had like such a close game one and game two. And then in game three, I'm sitting there with my Starfield vocalist, and I have the Might Form Harmonizer in hand, but I didn't have the second forest to cast it. And I also had the combat trick, which I think is excellent, by the way, but it gives
Mm-hmm.
+1/+1, reach, trample, untaps it, and like
Yeah.
because it's a +1/+1 counter, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And so my opponent was just also blue-green, but their deck was actually good. It was like ramping and had good top end.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I'm pretty sure a forest kills them here because so I draw, it's a forest, and I'm like, all right, let's put it to the test. So I warped out the harmonizer,
Mm-hmm.
played the forest, which triggered it, which put two triggers on this 4/2 that I had, this random
Mm-hmm.
4/2. And then in response, before those triggers resolved, put a +1/+1 counter on it and gave it trample. And so after those resolved, it's now a 20 power trampler. And my opponent had a blocker, but I had another attacker. So it was like there's nothing you could do against
Mm-hmm.
my 20 power trampler and this and the vocalist, the
Yeah.
3/4.
The 3/4.
And so my opponent was like, "Yeah, I guess I lose." They were just at like 20 ramping normally, and I was like, "I think a forest wins here." Boom, forest. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Wow.
it happened plenty of times that I attacked with things that had doubled their power multiple times. Um, I guess there's another rare that I had. So I guess maybe it was
So
unfair to
maybe
say that my rares weren't good
my
because
mirrors
I've
weren't good except for
mentioned,
I had like three on color ones plus a colorless one that helped everything
yeah,
out.
yeah. But I wasn't excited when I was opening them. I was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
even the vocalist, right? I was like, yeah, weird. But then when I opened the second one, I was like, oh,
The,
I feel like
the
I have to do this.
the second one definitely helps. I would probably say like if you just had the first one, you'd be like, I'm not building a deck around this. But having
Right.
two is like, okay, now the deck's coming together
Yeah.
because the it's
Um,
like,
the other rare I had was Synthesizer Lab Ship, which is
oh yeah,
one
okay,
blue for a spacecraft. It stations. When you get 2+, it turns things into
mm-hmm.
windrakes, turns artifacts into
Yeah,
windrakes. When you get to 9, it has flying and vigilance, and it's a 4/4. I almost didn't play this because I was like, I don't have a ton of artifacts. I have some, but I don't
mm-hmm.
have so many that two
Yeah,
plus is really powerful. Honestly, this card was just kind of a house, though. When you got it down, it was so easy to turn into a 4/4 flying vigilance
mm-hmm.
in my green deck that all had 4 power. Like it's all like 4/2s for 3 and
Yeah.
like, that kind of stuff. Um,
Seriously, like those green creatures, the 4/2 that surveils and whatever, like that just gives you people to station your shit. It's great.
yeah, so this I don't know, Station was pretty solid and this card in particular I think was just good, although I did lose to my opponent stealing it to give their card flying. And it was the card that gives poison counters, and I was at 8.
Mm.
And it hit me for the
Oh,
2 poison counters. I was like, whoa, nice.
that's
Because
pretty
the thing
sweet.
that steals it has a
Wait, is
tap,
this
so you're like, oh, okay, no big deal.
it's like the tractor beam
Except,
thing? Yeah.
yeah. So we had some wacky, wonky plays that were super. Oh, okay. One more story for that. This was all in the same match. That's how I lost game one, was to the tractor beam.
Mm-hmm.
And I won game three with the 20 power trampler. Game two was this long drawn out affair where my opponent was just like ramping, casting bombs, dealing with stuff. But I had this God, what's the common we talked about last week? It's the 2 mana 2/2, and you just pay 3 to put a counter on it.
Intrepid Tenderfoot.
Yeah, Intrepid Tenderfoot. And I just had this, and it had like 9 or 10 counters on it. And I was just attacking with it every turn, and he was like chump blocking, but then he would
Mm-hmm.
draw a bunch of cards. He had consult the star charts and like stuff like
Oh,
that. He was just
gotcha.
like, he had
Mm-hmm.
so many cards. He was just whatever, I'll block, block, block. And then eventually I drew this equipment that turns something into a 1/1 and makes it unblockable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I equipped it and turned it into a 1/1, but because it's all of its power came in the form of these counters,
Mm-hmm.
it was like an
It's
11 power unblockable, and that's what won
yeah.
the game.
Yeah, that card is called Atomic Microsizer.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about the card later. So I was,
big fan
yeah,
of that card.
big fan of the Atomic Microsizer. It is pretty sweet. That's awesome, dude. 3-0. Hell yeah, with the Simic build. Look at you being a Simic
I
gamer too.
know,
Yeah,
I know, but it
yeah.
wasn't ramp. Yeah, it
Okay,
was
so
Civic Panharmonicon. So
yeah, much better. Definitely
this
much
is
better.
the Saffron Olive would be proud.
All right, yes, that's exactly what I thought when I read the Starfield Vocalist the card. Um,
So the first tech he builds is going to be the Starfield Vocals.
for sure, it for sure is. That's sweet, man. Yeah, like I honestly, this pre-release was one of my favorites that I've gone to in a long time.
Yeah,
Like I ended up because I was working during the day, the shop that's in Toronto, they have like two regular pre-releases, but then the ones at night are two-headed giant. So I went to the Saturday night two-headed giant pre-release with a buddy of mine, which is actually pretty awesome because sometimes when you go to these events, you like see your friend at the beginning and you kind of build your decks together, but then you just play matches with other people, and then you just kind of see each other at the end and say bye and then leave. But like when we played two-headed giant, it was like, no, we're hanging out the whole night. We were playing every
right.
game together, and that was pretty sweet. And I haven't really played two-headed giant very much. If you're
Honestly, I've
unfamiliar,
only done it a couple of times. Yeah.
yeah. If you're unfamiliar, it's a format where it's like you and a partner are fighting against another pair of people, and you play your turns concurrently. So you attack together, you block together, you draw together, stuff like that. So really, it's just you still only have our turn, their turn, our turn, their turn, and you don't have to choose who to attack, which is amazing. It's just like it's just united fronts. So you lose all the politics of commandery stuff, but it still feels
Mhm.
extremely social if that's your cup of tea.
Right.
Because there's four people playing.
And it's kind of just
And
like super powered limited where you're allowed to talk to your friend about what
exactly
what
your
the best
plays.
play is.
And you get to show each other your hand to be like, oh, should I mulligan this? What should I do? You also get to share your pools. So when you build your decks, you get to give each other cards to help each other build specific things. Or as you're opening, you're like, oh, I think this would be really good for that deck that we're trying to build. And then what's the second deck we're going to build? So the deck's power levels go up significantly because it's like all the good pieces. Like I had too much removal. I had to take removal out of my deck because I was like, I need to play more creatures. Like
Yeah.
I need to do other things. But we ended up building a red blue artifacty deck, which had two Nova Hellkites in it, as well
Whew.
as the gunship, which like enters and deals damage equal to the number of artifacts you control. We had a
Oh
star.
yeah.
We had Star Winder, which says whenever your creatures deal damage to your opponent, you get to draw that many cards.
Mhm.
It also had an atomic microsizer, which is the equipment you were discussing earlier. But we also got a Tezzeret. So Tezzeret was also part of that deck, which was pretty sick. And that was the deck that my buddy was playing with. I was playing with like a green-white counters deck that had the Harmonizer that you had talked about earlier, as well as the Exalted Sunborn that doubles all your tokens.
Right.
And so I had a bunch of things that made lander tokens, and I could get double counters from the tokens. And then I had the social engineering, which lets you, whenever you play a land, you get a 2/2 robot, so I get to make multiple robots and that kind of stuff. So ultimately, I think the red blue deck was stronger. Our cards for that deck were better.
Right.
But I was
And two Nova Hellkites. It's
pretty
gonna be
sick.
tough to compete with.
It was but I got to do some pretty sweet things with lander tokens. There was one turn where I had the lander tokens, and I also had the futuristic engineering. I think that's what it's called. The rare that like bioengineered future is what it's called. It's like 3 mana for an enchantment. When it enters, you make a lander, and then it says whenever a creature enters the battlefield, or as it enters the battlefield, it comes with a +1/+1 counter equal to the number of lands that entered the battlefield this turn.
Right.
So under your control. So I would like play a land. I had the use social engineering, so I make a 2/2 robot. But then because I had the Exalted Sunborn, I make two 2/2 robots, and they both enter with an extra counter. And then I sack a lander token. I play another land. I make more robots with two +1/+1 counters on it, and then I sack
Right.
another lander token and make two more robots that had three +1/+1 counters. And that felt like a moment of holy shit. This is we're not really playing limited anymore. This is
So how does
actual combination.
How does a card like that work in Two-Headed Giant, where it's like equal to the number of lands you played?
Yeah, so you still is just you.
Okay.
So anything that says you is just talking about you control cards that you have in front of you. Your
Yeah.
partner is not part of what you control. You also have 30 life in this format because there's more people and they want it to not be too fast. Which leads me to the our round two. Basically, what happens is we play round one, it's great. Round two, we head over to the first table because we had won our match and, we're in the top winning. Yeah. We sit down against these two guys, kind of younger dudes, give like a skater vibe. Seemed like they've like one of them has played Magic a bit. The other one seems to be new-ish, but they're all like they're both into it and they're both like spiky, where they're like, let's just do the best we can do.
Mm.
No playmats, no dice, no sleeves. Right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
these are the kind of guys we're talking about. These are like pure 90s gamers, like, but the new generation. They could be like 20. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I like these guys a lot. Just like their vibe, sick.
Yeah.
And no sleeves at the pre-release, hell yeah. It was just like, this is okay. I'm ready to
That
sit down with
was
these guys.
that was my third round opponent, but he was a little more like preppy, clean cut vibe, but
Oh,
still
gotcha.
definitely like guy in his early to mid 20s. Nothing showed up with
Just
nothing and just opened his
and just
packs and
and
like
just
shuffled
played.
into the game.
Yeah, these guys looked like they were only a couple years off from like giving each other like at home tattoos and piercings. Do you know what I mean? Like they had possibly that vibe to them, but they're super nice and they're really fun to play against. Um, we start at the beginning of the match and they're mulliganing multiple times, just trying to like, oh god, I can't get anything right. So one of them's at 5, the other one's at 6, I think, and me and my partner are at 7, and we're like, okay,
Oof.
well, I feel like we're gonna do pretty good here. Starts off pretty simple. The guy across from me is playing Rakdos. He plays the timeline color warped,
Hmm.
so he pays 2 life immediately. Starts attacking us with this 2/2, warps it out, all this stuff. We're slowly building our boards. I play like that. I warp out that angel that lets you go get a planes and all that stuff. Turn 4, they look at us and they're like, okay, we got it right here. And they slam down Space Time Anomaly, which is 2 white blue for a sorcery at rare. It says target player mills cards equal to your life total. Because they had played the timeline color, their life total was at 28. But
Okay.
they looked between the two of us and they're like, you. They point at me. He went and got a land. Let's mill him. I mill all
Ah.
but 1 card in my deck because of this. And it was just like, well, I guess the game's over. I didn't really think that that was a all right. Timeline anomaly is just like, all right, two-headed giant, game's over button. Like that was basically what it felt like. Like turn
I
4
actually
we
think the card's
found it.
pretty good in limited in general. But
It definitely is pretty good and limited, but when you have 30 life, because
oh
like
yeah.
there's just no way you have anything left by the time it's played. Like it was busted in two-headed giant, and I don't think I have laughed harder at the pre-release ever. Where we were just like,
So
well,
wait, does your team lose if
yeah,
can't draw? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just
So
it's so fucked in that
so that
format.
yeah, it's just so fucked. So the game was just over, and we were
Because
just
it's
I
still
was
40 card libraries.
yeah.
So it's literally as good as it could possibly be in
It
that
was
format. It's
the
like
strongest it could possibly be, and even with his teammates playing the only card that would make it worse, which is, oh, I'm going to pay 2 life to warp out this
oh yeah, you would
2/2
have died
black
if you
creature.
on the spot if you didn't
Yeah,
cast that.
exactly. And so it was just like the most ridiculous thing. And I was laughing like close to the point where I'm
So
like
you have one
crying.
turn to deal 28 damage to them.
Yeah, it was impossible. Like I had basically nothing on the battlefield. It was their turn 4, and then we were about to take our turn 4. So it was like, there's just no way. There's no
Yeah.
way. And it was like we were laughing so much because we're like, I cannot believe that this is the card we're gonna lose to right now. But I'm so happy that this moment is happening right now. It was oh my god. It
Oh
was
yeah.
the best. I being on the losing end of it was just so funny. And I've basically been waiting all week to tell you about it because I've been so excited about that moment. It
Yeah,
was
that's
so funny.
awesome.
It was so funny.
I was literally like turn 4 on the play. They say they have it. Like,
It's like,
come on. You
come on.
can't possibly have
Well, because they were
And they did.
mulliganing down to it. And I think the only other thing he did was play like the whale to surveil. So he was looking for
Oh,
the other pieces,
love
you
that
know?
whale.
Yeah. So he like found the white source or something off of it. And it was just like, done. It was just so funny. Oh god, it was space time anomaly, like
I
busted
like
into
those
headed
guys
giant.
even more now.
They were sick, and then of course we like laughed about it, and they were telling us, they're like, man, we kind of were hoping that we were playing against people that would be really upset that we beat them this way. We really wanted to play against people that would be super sour about it, and we're like, no, like
You're like, I
that
can
was
pretend to be. Would that make you
no,
feel better?
but that was awesome. And then we played another
Flip the
game,
table.
and one of the first actions was like the space whale to surveil, and they both are looking at each other and laughing, and they're like, do we leave it on top? And one of us, no, we have to, you got to put it in the graveyard, we can't beat them with that again, it's not fun, let's just get it. And so then they surveilled it into the yard just to save us from the
Ah,
humiliation of losing twice, because in two-headed giant you just play a best of one match because
yeah, yeah.
the games take so long. But
Then they
man,
snapcastered
yeah.
it.
Oh god. Anyway, it was just awesome.
That's great.
I am yeah.
Hey, if you're gonna lose, like, might as well
Better.
be just a card that is so busted in that format. In the, it's best because it's like it's. I think this is a fine limited card, but you're gonna want to get it early and build your deck around it. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
want to have some life gain. You're a control deck now. This is your win con, and
Exactly,
like
yeah.
I think that's a reasonable path. But it's not just like a bomb in limited. It
No.
is a bomb in two-headed giant sealed deck.
Well, cuz
But
cuz milling like 30 cards is like the entire deck. Milling 20 cards is a lot, but they might still have like 6 turns, which is enough to beat somebody.
and
And obviously,
realistically, in draft, it's like 16-ish cards on average, probably. If
yeah.
you hit it on curve and if you hit it later, we're talking even less. But
Yeah, so it depends exactly what you're trying to do, and you obviously need to be playing towards it, and then all those other kind of situations. But in sealed, which is already slow, and this format is pushing to the slower side, which I think is mainly due to like the number of like 2/3s. I think we talked about this a lot last week,
yeah,
but they were pushing to make sure that like you have time to station your spacecrafts, because if you couldn't station your spacecrafts, this set would suck. And I was working under the idea that we would not be able to have time, and you definitely do. So
yeah,
not in every deck, obviously, but they purposely statted the creatures in such a way that it was a little bit more defensive. So which is good. But anyway, great pre-release weekend. Loved it. Went 2-1. So that the only match we lost was to the anomaly, because it was an
sure.
anomaly. But
Yeah, it happens.
it was it was great. I was so happy that it happened. Honestly, it was so fun. Reminded me of just like playing like as a kid again and being like, okay,
Yeah.
oh god, and
Was
getting
there anything that stood out to you mechanic wise or like in the way the limited set plays that has either reinforced what you thought or different?
I think we talked about it a little bit last week because I'd done the streamer event,
I guess
but
you had played a little bit already, so
yeah,
it wasn't your first actual time playing with the mechanics, but
it's really the station thing being like that. Obviously, I still want to play spacecrafts that do something when they enter the battlefield, but them becoming creatures is a real thing that I have to worry about and think about.
yeah.
As opposed to that's just a card type that, like most of the vehicles in Aether Drift, are like whatever, like okay, sure, like just that goes in my sideboard immediately. I don't give a shit. That was a
Yeah.
lot of what that kind of felt like to me, and I think that persists still. But the honestly the there's a red tutu that has been impressing me more and more. And it's nothing like crazy exciting, but the ore plate pangolin, it's a like a 2 mana tutu. It's a robot pangolin in red. And just whenever an artifact you control enters, you can pay one and you put a +1/+1 counter on the pangolin. And just being able to put the counters on it through like random lander tokens or random stuff
Right.
that you're, it's just like always seems to kind of come up where it's like, all right, get a counter. And then it ends up once again being a 2/2 that can brawl, the later in the game. That's like, yeah, like the Intrepid Tenderfoot, where this one obviously is cheaper to put the counter on, but there's more things that have to happen, so you're not guaranteed it's going to happen. But just impressed with some of these cards that I'm usually just like completely write off, where I'm like, okay, sure. Like I barely even wanted in the artifact deck. We're like, no, okay, I actually kind of like it. It's nothing to really write home about. I know I'm talking about it on a podcast, but I've seen it more where I'm like, okay, the fact that you are just spending time putting counters in this is really annoying. Like I wish that you wouldn't do that enough to remember.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't run into that card, but that definitely makes sense. Yeah, I kind of want to go back and redo the picks again, but I would only make a few minor changes. But I think the one thing that stood out to me, like you said, spacecrafts, and
Hmm.
one thing in particular that happened that I did that really made me think was so something that kind of happened with vehicles but was not super relevant was chaining
Hmm.
them. You would
Hmm.
activate like crew one vehicle in order to crew another. It came up occasionally if your vehicle had high power and
Hmm.
low crew, you could crew it, but it wasn't real like a part of the play pattern.
Yeah.
I think like chaining stations is a real part of it because what
Because
I
they're.
would often do is like have a station, I'd play another station that I could turn on with my creatures currently, and
Hmm.
I turn that on, but it has summoning sickness. I use it to station the other spacecraft. Doesn't get all the way there necessarily, but it just like
Helps.
you get so many extra counters from it. So timing wise, I think like chaining stations together is actually going to be a pretty reasonable part of the
Hmm.
play pattern here, where you're just like, okay, I can turn this one on now, which I can then use to put a bunch of counters on this one, and I could turn that on next turn, and that's the big one or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, you
Um,
definitely. Station is an interesting mechanic in such a different way than vehicles are, which vehicles really just feel like, oh, I'm a creature right now, and I like dodge, sorcery speed removal, and board wipes essentially.
yeah,
But stations like, no, start planning ahead. That's what it's like.
yeah,
Stations like it is teaching like limited fundamentals, which is if you're not blocking, you're attacking, or in this case, you're stationing. Where it's like
yeah.
there's a third option that is like does come up. So I think it's kind of
Just doesn't
nice
play like vehicles at all.
at
It's just
all.
that it
And
it's reads similarly, but
mhm,
the play patterns are super different. And you're totally
it's
right. It's about planning
mhm,
ahead. And
mhm,
oftentimes I'd look at my hand and be like, whew, what am I supposed to play here? Like
mhm,
my third round opponent was literally like laughing at me because I was tanking on turn one of the game
mhm.
because I had like three different one drops that I could play and a couple
Yeah.
different two drops. And I'm like, man, this hand is super, was very unusual for my deck. But in the end, I was just like, I don't know, play this synthesizer or whatever, like
Mhm. Oh yeah,
the
the rare.
station,
Yeah.
because I don't think I'll have like a convenient time to slot it in later, and I'd rather that than this crappy kind of one drop that I have.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it station was pretty much more interesting than I thought,
Hmm.
and it rewards like long-term game planning is basically what it's
Absolutely.
all about.
I think what it is that like I mean, if you read or watch my set reviews, I'm super low on station, and I was very very against it. I just thought it was going to be horrible,
Hmm.
and
The
like
numbers look too high when you
they
first
look
read them. You're
way
like,
too
these
high,
numbers are so
way too
big.
high.
Yeah.
But honestly, they're fairly like it's not that difficult to get to those numbers, especially if you're planning around it. And the fact that they all fly is super important.
Yeah, there's not a ton of at least in my three matches, I had a
Mhm.
lot of flyers in my deck, and that's a big part of why I won. Just
Mhm.
like was able to block flyers or mostly just attack. Like
Exactly.
often I like the way I won my first match was the double power twice on the whale.
Yeah.
So it was like a 12 power flying attacker. Which I love that whale, by the way. And
Yeah. Whale's
that's
good.
kind of my next point was that warp felt crazy busted to me. But I had to like reel myself back in my mind a little bit because I was like, all of my warp creatures are ETB. Like I'm playing Mechanozoa, which taps two things down and puts stun scanners, and playing the whale. And all of that is often doubled in my deck and just makes them feel absurd.
Yeah.
Um,
Which
which they kind of were. I'd be like, okay, so warp the whale, surveil two again, like, that kind of stuff. Um,
will also
and
just yeah warp the Mechanozoa, and you're like tap this, stun it, tap that, stun it. Sweet.
yeah, well, what was there's a spacecraft that bounces two things too.
I
And I was just
yes.
like, two of those, everything goes.
That's so
Everything
good.
goes. And now I
Everything
have the
but spacecraft.
spacecraft.
That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing is with this one is that like it's called Specimen Freighter, the 6 mana
Hmm.
one. You just have to remember it doesn't bounce spacecrafts. So like I
Right.
have been which is for obvious reasons because you can't bounce itself. So
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to
also
do like bounce this and your thing,
play it
right? And
again, play
then
it again, play it
yeah.
again. But it also means that like oftentimes you're like, man, a bounce effect would be amazing on a spacecraft because then they have to start all over trying to turn it into a creature. And this
True.
one just doesn't do that. So that I did run into that situation. But it's still a busted card that's so strong, especially if you're bouncing four things for 6 mana.
Yeah.
That's like absurd. Like
Oh yeah. Felt
it's
like a
just
one-sided wrath, I feel
it's
like,
so
okay, all
crazy.
your stuff
Go,
back
yeah,
to your
go
hand.
play that
Yeah.
again. But yeah, I really do think that that's the biggest thing is that station went from like a 2 in my mind to like a 8, or a 9. Like
Right.
it,
It's like probably most decks need to be doing this in some
yeah.
capacity.
You don't
Uh,
really like it, and it's built into the Boros deck, right? The Boros deck wants to be tapping their creatures in
yeah.
any way that they can, and if it happens to be with the spacecraft thing, that's the most reliable one. But yeah, I've been really liking it. I'm excited to be drafting more on Arena with everybody.
Hmm.
But I gotta say, my pre-release was awesome, and not harkening too much back to the two-headed giant thing, but like it gave me the social aspect that I loved about Commander, without the politicky part where you have to hurt people's feelings for attacking certain specific people. Like everyone goes
Yeah.
in being like, I know who my opponent is. It's you. But also we're laughing and having a good time. Like the
Right.
situation I had talked about where I made 6 robots in one turn with varying +1/+1 counters. I passed the turn and they top decked the land that they needed to play the Wrath to wipe the board. And it was like still commander-y moments. So if you're a commander player out there who's looking for a pre-release, but you're feeling like sealed seems whatever, blah 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 blah. Check out Two-Headed Giant. Even if you're not, even if you just want a regular, hey, you can play sealed on Arena or Draft and stuff, and your pre-release could just be a completely different thing where you're really kicking back and being like, you know what, I just want to hang out with my buddy. If there's a Two-Headed Giant event, I've just opened my eyes to this event where I was like, I don't want to play this, but really it was awesome. And there were a lot of just like dads and sons, basically, or dads and kids.
Oh, I love that.
It was like dads and kids and couples was a huge
Right.
part of it. So that was just it was just different. It
And
felt
then you
different.
and Ben.
And then me and Ben, another couple.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jeff, do we want to start talking about some standards, some constructed perhaps things that
Let's
we're
do it.
looking at?
Although with all this competitive limited coming up, I don't even know when I'll play standard.
Yeah, it's hard because you just want to like be focused so much on limited, which is the best. But Jeff, would you like to explain our worth a slot segment to our listeners here?
I would love to. So whenever a new set drops, we like to know what's worth a slot. Basically, that means what should you feel comfortable spending your wild cards on because the hottest commodity in MTG
Hmm.
Arena is wild cards. Forget gold, forget gems, forget cosmetics, although those are kind of cool.
Hmm.
Wild cards are really what it's all about. And so what we do is we go through and we tell you a few of the cards that are on our minds with regards to this set that we will either be hunting for the draft, but most likely going to spend wild cards on at some point, and we're okay with it.
Hmm.
And we break it down into a few different categories. First is a layup. This is something that you shouldn't worry at all. Spending a
Hmm.
wild card on this is a great use of a wild card. It's what they're for, is for cards like this. Three-pointer is something that is a little more of a long shot, but definitely could be worth it, especially if it's your style of card.
Hmm.
Half-court shot is generally something that we wish was worth a wild card and that we might spend a wild card on, but we kind of know it's not the best idea. And then we pick a card that the community is overrating and a card that we think the community is underrating.
Yeah. So Jeff, I'm gonna go first this week, or this time, this
Okay.
set, just because we snake this, and well, I want to be first for half courts later. That's basically why I'm doing this.
I see.
Yeah, I want to be
Are
upfront.
you
I'm not trying to
planning on
be
taking the card that I was obviously going to pick first?
probably. No, 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 no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, no, no. That's why I was trying to say like I'm not going to pick the card that you're probably going to pick. I'm assuming I know what you're going to pick, and
Yeah.
I think you know what I'm going to pick. We were kind of vocal about some stuff last week, so
Yeah, but I
there's
need to
no
vent
real
more, so.
secrets. Okay, I thought you would, but I'm going to pick a card that I did mention last week, and I see the obvious power in this card, and will be really surprised if people aren't like, slam this in my deck immediately, which
Right.
is Cosmo Grand Zenith. 2 and a white for a 2/4 creature human soldier at Mythic. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, choose one. Create 2/1/1 white human soldier creature tokens, or you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. I think that Flurry, the cast 2 spells mechanic, is phenomenal. It's so much fun to play with, and this card just creates boards out of nowhere or pumps them up to win the game on the spot. Either whatever you need. And as we're moving into rotation, it will be interesting to see if there's another like Boros tokens deck, or maybe there's like a blue white deck or something that goes into making tons of tokens.
Hmm.
Because we lose a couple pieces from the Boros tokens list as we move into rotation, which is some of the explosive starts are gone,
Yeah. I feel like the
but
deck's unplayable now, or it has to shift
it has to
strongly from what
shift.
it was.
Yeah, it had to shift a bunch, and I wonder if Cosmo Grand Zenith will help it pick itself back up out of the
Yeah.
trenches. So whether it's going to be Boros or just mono white, I'm not sure. But very excited to see this card do some work, and cannot really see a world where it's going to be stupid to have 4 copies of this in your collection. That's what I feel like. It just seems like a no-brainer to me that like you can have this card and it will sometimes be able to run away with the game. But I just don't see why this isn't going to be a part of the makeup somewhere.
Yeah, this card's a house. This is actually when I opened my packs at the pre-release, every pack I was like, come on, this was the
Mm.
card I was hoping for. This just seems like the most insane limited card
Hmm.
by a country mile. And yeah, I could definitely see this in Constructed too. This is not a card of like, is it good enough for standard? It's a card of like, will it find a home that ends up
Hmm.
being tier one or
Yeah,
whatever?
that's more of what I was trying to say.
But there
But
will definitely
like,
be, you'll play against this. There will be,
mhm,
if it's not in one of the best decks, it'll be in a tier two deck or something that is viable. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
hmm,
it's it's nice. All right, the card that I picked, which
hmm,
I again talked about last time, but I played against it at the pre-release, and my opponent looked at like 8 cards
hmm.
and picked their best two. And I was like, "Fuck this card," and I went on a rant to the pre-release. So I will.
They kicked you out.
Yeah, so then they politely asked me to leave.
Hmm.
But then I made up some story about going 3-0. But no, the card is consult the star charts. This card is one in a blue for an instant. Kicker, one in a blue. Look at the top X, where X is the number of lands you control. Put one into your hand. If it was kicked, put two into your hand instead, and the rest on the bottom in a random order. This is just it's just too much, man. Like I know traditional control decks have been struggling lately because the in this new standard world, the threats are so good.
Hmm.
You know, just look at some of the threats that have been printed, you know, in the past 3 or 4 sets. And that's just always going to put control. Like control inherently is on the back foot
Hmm.
because it is
It's
trying to
reactive.
react to what
Hmm.
its opponent is doing. And so I feel like maybe they felt like they needed to juice it a little bit. My
Hmm.
issue is that this isn't just going to go into control decks. Like this is just going to fuel the same decks that have been dominating, which is like blue, red, or probably just blue red. But you know, whatever, blue white that isn't necessarily control. And it's just a little too pushed for me, where it's just like I don't understand why they had to go this hard. But they
Hmm.
went this hard, and I'm gonna pick up this card and put it into my collection because I will
Hmm.
play it at some point.
Yeah,
Um, if I ever want to play a blue deck, I'm probably gonna want to have 4 of these. You know what I mean? So
probably.
like it
Either like
it's just that good.
yeah,
It's just that
either
good.
four of this or a split between this and stock up, depending on if you have 3 or 4 lands and what you want to do. As we had some people commenting on our last episode as we were talking about consult the star charts, and I think that's probably true. But this card is definitely busted. Just having 4 in your collection is what you should do. And this card's I've already had people telling me like, oh yeah, I already picked up 8 copies in paper just to make sure,
Yeah, yeah.
like
It's
uh,
nuts.
it's nuts.
And to the whole argument about, you know, you want some split between stock up, like, yeah, I think I agree with that. But stock up
Hmm.
is also nuts, okay? Like
Yeah,
stock up is a
it's
crazy
also.
card.
Hmm.
So the fact that this is like probably the default over stock up, but you might want some stock up
Hmm.
rather than the full play set of this is just a testament to this card. This reminds me a bit of when Cons of Tarkir dropped. And it was like, are you a dig through time deck or a treasure cruise deck?
Hmm.
And it's kind of the same thing. Do you want just like the raw number of cards and are okay with that being sorcery speed? Or do you want the card selection? You'll take fewer
Hmm.
cards, but you want the instant speed and the card selection of dig through time.
Hmm.
Uh, and so this is dig through time and stock up is treasure cruise.
Is Treasure Cruise? Yeah.
Obviously, stock up costs, you know, a little more than Treasure Cruise, but
Hmm.
well, actually, it costs 1/3, I think, the cost of Treasure Cruise. But
So dumb, but yeah,
yeah,
sure.
uh, but no, it costs 3 times as much as Treasure Cruise.
Hmm.
But it was there was a similar thing, and it did occur that different decks kind of wanted different ones. But I think most of that was just the raw efficiency of Treasure Cruise. Like if Treasure Cruise costs 2 mana, you would never pick Treasure Cruise over Dig Through Time, or
Yeah.
very rarely.
Hmm.
But the fact that it costs one was why people would pick it. So here we kind of have a lot more flexibility in the Dig Through Time option.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Um, Great card though. I knew you were gonna pick this, so basically all I did was spend my time trying to figure out what am I gonna pick against Jeff's pick.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested to hear what your 3 pointer is going to be for this set, because I will say that in general, this set was not extremely easy to pick cards. I've had a hard time finding some stuff in this one that, at least for like, well, I'll let you talk about this next one, but
Yeah.
I
Um,
personally found a hard time.
I agree with that. I think the rares aren't like as crazy as
Hmm.
maybe some of the sets we've seen in the past, which might lead to a nice limited format. So far, that's been my experience, but I wasn't sure what to pick for this until I played against this card at the pre-release,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, I need those. I need those for my deck in
Yeah.
standard."
Hmm.
Which now I'm almost worried it's too strong for a three-pointer, but I don't think so. I think it's appropriate for a three-pointer.
Whatever.
And I feel like I had read this card. I might have even referenced it on the show before, but I didn't
Hmm.
really read it. Like I just playing against it was like, oh damn, this is a card. And so the card is Servandum, Sunstar Exemplar.
Hmm.
This card is white and black for a 2/2 Vigilance Menace. Whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and you gain 1 life. And when it dies or is put into exile, while its power is 4 or greater, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. This thing is a house in the black-white sacrifice deck. It actually, I think, frees up a lot of cards that you previously kind of feel like you have to play.
Hmm.
Like I actually think I don't know if I'm gonna play Bartolome
Hmm.
after the set releases because we have the other two drop that sacks for free.
It's
And then
cheaper,
this
or
thing,
not cheaper, but it's easier to cast.
it's
And
easier to cast, it's non-legendary.
yeah, that's
And I
huge.
think if memory serves, it's a 3 power 2 drop. But
Yeah.
um,
I think it's just a 2/2, but
oh, it's a 2/2. Okay, but it lets you scry, which is actually
more useful than the
or
counters.
surveil probably. But
Surveil, I think.
this thing now takes like Bartholomew did two things before. It was your free sack engine and also your thing that got big
Hmm.
and would like threaten them, apply some pressure. Because you can't always blood artist your way there. You need some combat pressure.
Hmm.
I like that those are now split in this set, those two roles, because otherwise, previously it's like just kill that. I
Hmm.
killed that thing. Like the thing that
I
is
know exactly.
enabling your entire game plan. I take
Kill
that one
that.
out.
Yeah.
Whereas this is now like, oh, you want to exile my whatever. Okay, I put a counter here. I have a massive vigilance menace. I gain a life. And when this
Hmm.
dies or gets exiled, you don't get to get
You.
out of it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill something. Um, yeah, this card is great, and I think is. I mean, probably said this every set, but like this might be the last missing piece, especially with rotation, to make Orzhov sack. Like
Yeah.
legit. Now you have so many options
There's so much
that,
stuff that, like, exactly,
yeah.
as opposed to being kind of pigeonholed into one thing. And you were right. Umbral Caller Zealot, which is what you're talking about, is a 2 mana 3/2. So that was my bad.
So for sure, I'm playing that over.
Hmm.
Like I think you're now playing four of those, and then
Hmm.
Bartolome is like your copy five if you want
Yeah.
it, or six kind of thing. And then probably at least a couple of these. I think it's a reasonable three-pointer because I could actually see a world where this is in your sideboard
Hmm.
or isn't even in your deck. But I could also see a world where you like slam three of these, like main
Totally.
deck. And
Yeah, I think so as well. I've also really liked this card and excited to see what it can do. And it was thinking of you when I had
yeah, yeah.
read this card. So,
They're clearly
uh,
pushing this archetype. They want this
mhm,
strategy to be at least viable.
mhm. I
Maybe
love when
it's
they
not
do
going to end
that.
up tier one, but yeah.
I love seeing that in the cards, and as I talked about some of my other picks, you'll kind of pick that up as well. But Servandin, I also just this is on a completely separate note, but I like how they did like the characters in the set because we're new to a lot of these characters. There's like they do the same thing as Brothers War, where there's like a uncommon version and a rare version. They kind of
Mm,
step
right.
up their game a little bit. It's just fun to see time with a character in the same set, as opposed to sometimes we're in the Edge of Eternity set, and then in 3 years we'll come back and see what changed. We don't have to wait that long. We can just get a snapshot of the story right now. I like that a lot.
I think that's just a feature of Magic, a part of the game moving forward, is that
I think
like
it's just better
legendary creatures will often come in pairs
in
kind of thing.
pairs. Yeah, and especially when they're new, it's nice to have a couple just to feel
Yeah.
it. It does feel more of the vibe, like
Or if they're like
um,
really important to the story, then
exactly.
it, yeah.
I think there's like 4 or 5 that do that, where there's a uncommon and then a rare version. I guess there's 5, or maybe there's more. Actually, is there 10? No, there's no way there's 10. Anyway, whatever. I'm getting kind of sidetracked, but I do like that about Servandin. My 3 pointer took me a while to get here, and whether it's actually going to be phenomenal or not, I do not know. But I think it's worth a shot and worth a slot in your deck. I have a couple different reasons for it, but first I'm going to read the card. It is green and blue, so there's, already all the baggage that comes with picking a green blue card. But I've done it before in the past. I'll do it again. This is Gene Morph. I think it's pronounced Imago.
Hmm.
It's green blue for a 1/3 creature insect druid at rare. It has flying and it has landfall. It says whenever a land you control enters, target creature has base power and toughness 3/3 until end of turn. If you control 6 or more lands, that creature has base power 6/6 until end of turn instead. One of the reasons this jumped out to me is because there's a 2-drop 1/3 flyer that every time you play a land, you're just hitting your opponent for 3 because it is in itself could just turn to a 3/3 flyer every turn until you get to 6, and then it's a 6/6 flyer.
Right.
But also coming off the set of Final Fantasy with all the Chocobo stuff going on,
Hmm.
people were
Right.
playing Bant Chocobos. But a big part of the Bant-ish situation was for Choco, which is a 4-mana card. But you could build a version of the deck that was just Simic with Choco at the top. Like that could be part of the deck. And one of the reasons why I'm picking this for my 3-pointer is because if you're looking at the cards that are rotating out of standard right now, specifically the lands that are rotating out of standard, the fast lands from all the allied sets are gone. So we're talking about the white blue land and the white green land fast lands are gone. But you do have Breeding Pool and you still have Botanical Sanctum. Both of those cards mean
That's
that if
true.
if a landfall deck is going to be part of the meta, you want your early plays to be green and blue. And this card fits
Hmm.
right into that. So that's a big reason. Like, obviously, you can look at a card that says landfall and then think, oh, the lands are kind of probably matter. Let's look at what the lands look like. That's basically how I got to this situation. But like rotation often feels like, oh, look at all these other cards we don't have to deal with anymore. But sometimes it comes with the issue of, oh, I lost that land that I use all the time. I didn't realize that was happening.
Yeah,
So
that's always phase two of rotation. You go to build your deck
exactly.
like, oh, this
Oh
is gone.
fuck yeah. But luckily, you're playing white black, right? That still has a fast land, and you have Godless Shrine, so you're super stoked on
Oh,
that. But all of your
yeah,
Rakdos decks go down, right? Because you
yeah,
lost your fast land and you don't have a shock land. So
yeah.
it's kind of like certain enemy decks get bumped up, and then depending on which ones got shocks, they like the allied
Right, because
shock
they didn't do
decks
the
like
enemy allied shock things. So probably
yeah.
for this reason, with rotations, like we don't want to just we're still going to super punish some decks,
Yes.
but not just like all five. It's not going to be a
Exactly.
5 and 5 thing. It's going to be like a three get fucked, three are okay,
Yeah.
four love it.
Yeah, exactly. So it is this interesting thing. So check out all your decks, but the simplest thing is that all of the allied fast lands are gone. So keep that in
Yeah,
mind
I
when you're
like this.
trying to
You've
build.
convinced me. I like this pick. Also because I have been gaining more and more respect for that landfall deck as I play against it. I'm like, maybe
Yeah,
this is just a part of the format. It's just a pretty good deck that is losing very little at rotation.
exactly. Very little at rotation. The biggest issue is that like you aren't doing as much bird stuff, right? So one of the cards that they really like in that deck was Bart's and Boko, which
Right.
cares about it has affinity for birds, and then all your birds deal damage. But you can pump your birds with this card. So,
And
you're
probably the optimal version of that deck list is just eschewing the bird thing and just playing
probably,
like
yeah, just
landfall,
landfall stuff.
aggro landfall kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Aggro
Which
landfall with like a combo-y feeling finish
of
where
some
they
sort
just can
of,
kill you out of nowhere, do like 40 damage,
yeah. Or it's just
which this can also
does,
do too.
it can do that. Because, like, yeah, there is a possibility that you could have some land or token stuff or some rampy things, and you are playing the Harmonist that does double up your stuff. So you make it a 6
Yeah,
6,
yeah.
then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So there that is seeded into this as well. That wasn't necessarily what I had in mind, but I'm open to Gene Morph and Mago going into a deck that does those things as well. So,
Right.
but definitely think this card is worth a slot in your decks, worth trying out. And I'm excited to see what happens with it as we go into the future of Standard. But I am really excited for this half court shot, which
Okay, lay it on me.
basically has nothing of the things that I just talked about. All the
Oh,
great
great.
things, all the great things I was talking about with like the mana base being great and moving into the space where it's like, oh, this is awesome. All out the window with this next pick. But I did want to make sure I got to jump on this and not necessarily thinking that you were going to for sure pick it because I'm pretty sure you weren't going to pick this card. But it is one that we have already talked about this evening. So,
Oh,
yeah. So it already came up in our conversation. But for my half court shot, the one that I dream to be into Standard. And if there's a whole deck around it, I'm going to be overjoyed. And I don't know if it's going to happen right now, but I'm putting a pin, I'm staking a flag into the ground, being like, all right,
nice.
I see the pattern, Wizards. I see it. I'm ready for the rest of them. Give me the Spider-Man part and give me the whatever Avatar version and help me build this deck. Is Space Time Anomaly. Two
Oof.
white blue again for a sorcery at rare. Target player mills cards equal to your life total. The reason I'm looking at this card again is because we also got from Final Fantasy, we got Hope S theme, which is white and a blue for a 2/2 legendary creature, human wizard at rare. It has lifelink. It says at the beginning of your end step, if your each opponent mills X cards, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. So
Aha.
they are randomly seeding this bizarre mill life gain deck into Standard. Now,
Right.
whether the deck is turbo mill or turbo life gain, I can't tell. Like if the possibility is like let's build a life gain deck that also splashes blue. So it's a mono white life gain deck, splashes blue to just randomly mill them out if you have a bunch of life. That sounds like a pretty good situation. If it's like, well, they wiped my board, which is my biggest issue, but I have 40 life. So let's just slam this and then win. Like, that sounds like a hilarious best of one type strategy. Or if the deck is more of a combo, or not combo, control situation where you're trying to wipe the board. One thing I did want to bring up that if we are trying to play a controlling deck is that Fumigate is in the format. It was printed in Foundation as
Oh
part.
yeah, forgot
It
about
was
that.
it was not printed in the actual set, like the draft set, but it was printed in the other cards that are just in Standard. So that's
Right.
continuing to be cards that I cannot remember, but like they just happen to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
I
But occasionally I'll
also
play against someone just cast something like that. I'm like, the fuck? I didn't even know
what the
this was in the format.
yeah, and it's just like, oh yeah, that was part of the 400 cards that were brought into Standard from Foundations that no one remembers.
Right. Yeah.
And the other card that I completely forgot existed, but totally goes into this deck, weirdly. I don't know. Okay, sorry. I built it up as if it was going to be a great card for this deck. It's more of like oh, you could actually play this card instead of not playing it ever and throwing it in the
Gotcha.
garbage, which is Will, Scion of Peace, which is from Wilds of Eldraine. It's one white blue for a 2/4 legendary creature human wizard at Mythic. It has Vigilance, and it has an activated ability. You can tap it. It says spells you cast this turn that are white and blue cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. Only activated
Ah,
as a sorcery. So, like,
yeah.
if you have this white blue life gain deck, you do have ways to play a bunch of big white spells and big blue spells if you are doing something funky. So there are pieces here. They're like very distant and fragmented, but I would love to see what happens with this. Now, what I kind of said earlier is that we don't have the lands for it. It's because we did lose the white blue fast land, so that's gone. We
Mhm.
don't have Hallowed Fountain as our as a shock land, so we are playing with tap lands. But that does make it seem closer to this is going to be closer to like a controlling deck that wants to mill them out because you're playing a bunch of tap lands because you have to. as
Well, you're
opposed
playing
to
the one that gains you a life.
yeah, totally. Yeah, just play the gain lands. But as opposed to being like a mono white deck that splashes blue, a mono white aggressive life gain deck with angels and stuff, that is one possibility. But I think it might be more of the we're playing controlling deck and then we're just milling people out because we don't have Jace anymore. Jace used to be a
I
big
know,
mill
yeah.
target.
Forgot
So,
forgot about that. Yeah.
right. So Jace was a big win con. That was the mono blue Jace from, I guess, Jace is always mono blue. I don't know why I said that. But anyway, the Jace that we had in standard from Phyrexia All Be One has rotated. So now this is there, I guess, whether it's just like, hey, we're playing control and this is our win con. I don't know if that's really, it doesn't seem like the
Yeah.
best thing. There's a lot of other better win cons. But
think
I want to see it. I want to see something with this card.
I
I
think my
would.
favorite thing about this trend that you're pointing out and a little bit like betting on
Mhm.
is uh okay, what are the two things that you hear the most when you tell people about
Oh,
Arena
that's so funny.
that
No,
they
you're so right.
hate?
Yeah.
What do they hate the most? The two things. They hate the mono white life gain deck and they
Mhm.
hate getting milled. Like
Yeah.
these are the two things new players to Arena hate more than anything. Like anytime
Hmm.
I talk to them, they're like, "Yeah, I played Arena for a bit, but that fucking life gain deck, like, I
Hmm.
just it's bullshit." Or like, "Oh, but they milled me. I hate that. I hate when they milled me." And I'm like, they didn't accomplish anything by just
Hmm.
milling you four cards. You know that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Like that
but
card's not crazy.
so if
That's
Wizards
so
started
funny.
pushing this deck, that would be especially you mentioned like in best of one, nice little deck to
Yeah,
play.
yeah.
Like that's where they play. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like this
All the
is the
players.
new deck that they just hate.
Wait,
It's
wait, wait,
bad,
wait.
but they new players
Yeah,
hate
yeah.
it.
Real quick, real quick. You're saying that they gain life, so I can't kill them with my creatures, and they mill my deck? What the fuck is this? Unfair.
Bullshit. Yeah.
Um.
And they hate control, as a tertiary. Like if I throw
Mhm.
that one out there too. So if you
Ugh.
put like no more lies in that deck, then they
Oh,
just
done.
So now I want this
Yes.
to be a thing just so that I
Well,
can
they're
like
already probably playing like Authority of the Consoles, so you make all
Yo,
the
there you
creatures
go.
enter tapped, you
Yeah.
gain a bunch of
Yeah.
life.
Main deck authority, of
Yeah.
course. Well, I
You
guess
do,
best of one. So
yeah, you do get to play River Churn Monument, which on its own is not great, but if you did play Space Time Anomaly, mill a bunch of cards, then you get to mill their whole graveyard, or the number of cards in the graveyard when you exhaust it. That's great. So there are a bunch of pieces they've given us very
Is
recently.
absorb in the format? I feel like it is.
Absorb?
Or did it? I feel like it was either
Um,
recently in the format or
oh, I don't have it on my list of cards that is currently standard legal, but let me just look that up.
for some reason I
Because
feel like it was one of those weird pseudo like side inclusions, but maybe it wasn't.
I think that it was, I don't think it actually made it into standard
Okay.
recently. It did get reprinted, but it got reprinted in Dominaria Remastered. So, like,
Right.
but it hasn't been in standard since Ravnica
Oh, bummer.
Allegiances.
Be perfect for this deck.
It would be. Hey, maybe we get Absorb. That would be a great Spider-Man card. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, there you go.
Like you could easily, put Absorb into some sort of New York setting where it's the Blob absorbing a blow or something. Obviously,
And then
it's
on
Spider-Man.
Arena, it's just absorb.
Yeah, and then it's just regular Absorb because whatever the
Yeah.
fuck. That's gonna be so weird, dude. It's gonna be so weird when we have the Spider-Man cards. Oh well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's enjoy the set that we have right now. Also, sorry for those of you that don't remember Absorb. It's white, blue, blue for an instant. Counter target spell. You gain 3 life. It's from Invasion, which is an old set, but
New players love it.
yeah, it's their favorite
Uh,
card.
yep. All
I
right,
always
cool.
thought it
So,
was cool, but whatever. Even when I
yeah,
was new.
I don't mind. Okay, so I looked and looked for my three-pointer, but the only one I really wanted to pick happened to be the one that I talked about last week, so I won't go too much
Yeah.
into it. But it's
Sorry,
Cosmogoyf.
are you talking about half court shot?
Yes, half court shot.
Yeah, yeah. You said three
I
pointers,
know,
so I got
yeah, I said
confused.
three
Okay.
pointer. My bad. I already did my 3-pointer. Half court shot. It's Cosmogoyf. I want to play this card. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
like try it in a bunch of different shells and then decide I'm just working too hard relative to what my opponents are doing. This is a cycle I always go through. I'm
Mm-hmm.
working too hard relative to what my opponents are doing with their two drops that this just isn't worth it. Um, but I just kind of something about this card is like, oh, I want to try that. So I will jump ahead to the card that I think is overrated. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that tuned into the Twitterverse these days. So the overrated, underrated stuff is always hard. I'm mostly just guessing at cards I think people will overrate.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, I think there's a card here that I will see with some regularity in standard, and I should not.
Mm-hmm.
And that card is Arch Enemy's Charm. So this is a black, black, black for an instant. It
Mm-hmm.
says choose one, exile a creature or planeswalker, return one or two target creature and or planeswalker cards from your graveyard to hand, or put two +1/+1 counters on target creature you control against lifelink until end of turn. I think people are drawn to this kind of thing. I think people are going to play it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think you should. If you're going to play mono black control or mono black demons or whatever, there's just a better option. The mana is going to be there to build something better than that. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're shoehorning this into like Golgari mid range, you're thinking like, oh, I'm losing Gix's command or whatever it is. This is a mini version. It's too hard to cast. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, it's not good
And
enough.
it also doesn't do one of the big modes you need from Giggs' command, which is wipe the board. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think this card looks enticing, especially to players that have been around a bit and have seen
Mm-hmm.
charms be really good in the past, or these types of like split effects be good in the past. But this one is asking too much of you without delivering enough, in my opinion. Like triple
I
black for this is all it does was kind of like, oh, I was excited to
it's
see the charm, and then when I
mm-hmm.
read it, I was like, that doesn't like it's always true with these cards that if you pick a single mode and isolate the card, it looks terrible, but like
Mm-hmm.
it usually doesn't look quite this bad, in my opinion.
I 100% agree with this take. I completely forgot about this card because after reading it the first time, I feel like I just kind of like it washed over me. Like in limited, this is
Yeah,
horrible
right.
and
Don't play this. Just don't
it's
play it.
so bad. And even looking to standard, I was like, maybe, but I think you're right. Like, the mode you're gonna hit, the mode you're gonna hit most of the time is just black, 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 instant exile target creature, or planeswalker,
Yeah,
and you have things that are cheaper. So like, just play
yeah,
those ones. It's just gonna be so annoying to have too many of these in your deck, even if you're mono black. And it also fucks up your like. Mono black also has utility lands, so if you have like a swamp and your utility land, you can't cast this card. It just sucks. I
yeah. That's a great point. Like one of the reasons, actually, to me, the main driving force or reason to play a monocolored deck
mhm.
is that you can just play all these utility lands
Yeah,
without worrying about fixing your mana. And this, like you're saying,
it
doesn't even let
hoses
you
you.
do that. Like
It
you
just
can't
says
play
like
Mutavault in your Archenemy's Charm deck or
yeah,
whatever kind
you
of
can't
thing.
do like the Soulstone Foundry or whatever. Like nope,
Yeah.
that's gonna suck. So I definitely agree with you. I have already seen this card, and
Yeah.
I I just think pick the modes that you care about, and you look at them, and really there's like one, and then the second one is like maybe, but like
Mhm.
most of the time it's really just the first one. So yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. Overrated.
Card sucks.
Yeah. I have another card I think is overrated. Was talked a lot about a lot of people's favorite card from the set. Obviously, these are people talking about another format, but sometimes I like to take this time to remind everyone that obviously formats don't always overlap. There are certain things you can learn from limited that help you into standard, but then there's also a point where like you're sometimes speaking a different language. And a
Yeah.
card like Moonlit Meditation is exactly what I'm talking about. Where like it's 2 and a blue for an enchantment or at rare. It says enchant an artifact or creature you control. It says the first time you would create one or more tokens each turn, you may instead create that many tokens that are copies of enchanted permanent.
Ugh.
Right. So
Yeah.
this to me feels, and I'm mostly talking about limited, where I don't think you should play this card really at all. It's really like you have to be having so many cards that make tokens of stuff that you care about, and you have to have an entire deck that makes tokens. You have to have a card that you want to make copies of, and you have to have this, and you have to have a situation where your opponent can't just immediately remove it before you get to do the thing. It's really like a 2 mana. I'm telling my opponent what card I think is the best on my battlefield, and they have a point to destroy it. That's basically what you're doing. And you're gonna have a bad time. In a 4-player commander game, this is totally different. Like that's where people are excited about it. But don't let that information bleed over into your draft decks or even into standard. I have seen some decks that have this card in it. There's been some interesting combo-ish versions of this, and if you're doing a combo deck where like once you do the combo, this is part of it, and then the game ends, that's different. Like, sweet, you did it, you get to win the game. That's what this card should be able to do. But if
Right.
you're just trying to do a value thing, like this is not going to work out. Don't put this in your deck. If you're like, oh well, I make some lander tokens. No. Like that's just not. It's just not going to be good enough.
No.
Like you don't want this. You don't want this card. And yeah, there are fun things you can do with this. I understand that. I get it. Leave that
Don't
stuff
play it.
for non-arena formats, basically.
Yeah.
Like I just don't think you're going to want to play this on arena that much.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this card, if this card should see any play, it would be, like you said, in some sort of combo where it
Hmm.
kills them immediately. And if that's the case, this would be like the weakness of the deck, the fact that they
Hmm.
have to play this instead of some better way of doing that, right?
Yeah.
It
I
makes me
had.
think of like the Carnosaur like
Mhm.
infinite Carnosaur decks that
Oh
exist
yeah.
kind of thing. It's like just do that, you know.
Do that instead. I mean, the deck I'm thinking of specifically, Hamhawks 42 built a deck for the streamer event that
Of
was
course he
using
did.
this card.
Yeah.
Hamhawks in particular loves reanimation and graveyard strategies, and he was using this card in conjunction with One Last Job, which is a white card. If you remember from Outlaws of Thunder Junction, it was 2 and a white, but it's a sorcery. It has spree. You can do a bunch of different things, but the two things that matter is that you can return a creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield, and you could also return an aura or equipment from your graveyard to the battlefield. And what he was trying to do is use One Last Job with the moonlit meditation, and freaking that card from Azoni. No, is it Azoni? No, that's not
The one that
right.
makes all the insects.
Yes. No. Not Azoni. A different one that also makes a bunch of bugs
Oh,
from
okay. I think I know which
Duskmourn
card
or
you're talking
something.
about.
I can't
Yeah.
remember which one it is, but it's like it enters, it makes a million fucking bugs, and
Yeah,
then
yeah. We
every time a bug dies, it gets bigger and your opponent loses life, basically. And so the
Mhm.
combo was like every time you like enter, they return them to the battlefield attached to each other. You would make a bunch of bug tokens, but each time you made a bug token, it would be a copy of the legend. So they'd all have to die. Each time they died, they make your opponent lose a life, and you sack it to the legend rule, and you give a bunch of death triggers, and you win the game on the spot because of it. And so that is the type of deck that's like, sure, that works for standard, or that is a noble pursuit. Do you know what I mean? As
yeah.
opposed to this is just a card I'm trying to get value out of. I think that's the only deck that looked like awesome to me. So hats off to Hamhawks, always making some sweet decks. That dude's
Yeah.
awesome. He's such a nice guy, but also builds some sweet decks. So go check him out on TikTok if you or not TikTok on Twitter, not
Yeah,
Twitter.
he sure
God,
does.
on
X
Twitch.
X.
I'm talking about
Oh,
Twitch. I'm just saying all the wrong words. I'm saying all the T's.
yeah.
I'm just getting. I'm
All
just
the
drinking more
social
beer.
medias that begin with T.
Yeah, but Hamhawks, awesome dude, builds sweet decks and is playing that card. So that was basically my exception. Is that like I saw that and what he was doing with it, I was like, that's something I'm interested in. But stay away from Moonlit Meditation in other situations where you aren't immediately winning the game when it enters.
Right. I can get behind that.
Yeah. As we always snake draft, I also have a underrated card. Then this is my time to shine, or the time to shine for this card that we were talking about earlier. We're bringing it back up. This is the blue card, Atomic Microsizer.
Mm,
It is a single blue for an artifact equipment at uncommon. It has equipped creature gets +1/+0, and whenever a cryptic creature attacks, choose up to one target creature. That creature can't be blocked this turn and has base power and toughness 1/1 until end of turn. Equip is 2 colorless, or 2 mana of any color. So my story with this card is that it was also in my two-headed giant pre-release, and I have liked this card. It has some interesting situations. The obvious situation is put this card in your creature, you make your creature smaller, a 1/1, you get to attack with impunity. If you have some sort of hits triggers, you get all that stuff, blah blah blah. The other mode is you attack, you shrink their biggest creature, and then
right.
their biggest creature doesn't get to block it very well. And then, as you pointed out very cleverly, the third mode is shrink your one creature, but because it has so many counters, it's still huge. They can't block this giant creature. You win the game. So, what?
There's actually a fourth mode that I
Oh,
used in one of my games, which was put it on a massive creature, and then you get the one like target your other attacker, and you get that like one extra point kind of thing.
oh,
So
sure, sure, sure,
they can
sure.
block your big creature
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
because
you make.
it's big by because of its own standards, not counters. But you can like sneak one through, which actually did come up in one of my games where I was like, well, this is like a 9 power trampler. This makes it a 10 power trampler, and then I get this free point of damage over here, kind of thing.
Right, 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 right. In the deck that we were playing, we had used Tezzeret. We got to ult Tezzeret, use the ultimate to turn a lander token into a creature.
Nice.
That creature ended up becoming a 6/6. We equipped it with the Atomic Microsizer, and we warped in the Starwinder. So it was 8 unblockable damage, and we got to draw 8 cards. And
Whew.
it was, so that turn happened on the same turn where I made 6 robots out of nowhere. And it
Mm.
was the craziest turn of like, well, we just made a huge board and attacked you for 4 lifelink in the air and 8 unblockable. We draw 8 cards. And then they
Just
ended up
bristle branded you.
basically they wiped the board after that, but it was like the craziest thing that was like, I cannot believe that this happened in limited. This was nuts. And I was
That's
like,
awesome.
and we had a bunch of games where Microsizer was just like, yeah, we're just winning the game because we put it on a flyer. And we're like,
Yeah.
well, we're attacking for 2 or 3 with the flyer, and then something else gets in for 1, like you were saying. So it's like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
there you go. Or your flying blocker or your reach blocker is a 1/1, so you can chump, I guess.
I think that's what I missed when I first read the card. It's like just put it on something that is you want to attack with anyways, and
You
get
get
the
to
other
trigger
thing
it all
in
the
for
time.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, the one blocker you have sucks now. Like that's doing it against reach or their other flyer. If it's like, yeah, you have a 4/5 flyer, but mine's a 2/4. Well, now you have a one
Yeah.
one flying blocker. So
It's very versatile and it doesn't
it's
ask very much of you.
I think it should, if you're like, it's the first equipment I've been pretty excited about. It's so interesting. The game warps around it a little bit as long as the
Yeah.
person that has it is able to attack. Like, if you can't
Right.
afford to attack, obviously it does nothing. But I think that it's such an
Well,
interesting
it gives
card.
something +1/+0.
Okay, yeah, it does basically nothing
Yeah.
for 3 mana. But it does quickly become like, oh, all my blocks get weird, or like I can't do anything. It just gets so
Yeah.
infuriating.
It becomes the like, ugh, how do I defend against this thing
Yeah.
card?
So Pickett, higher in your drafts. Not that saying that equipment should be like your number one goal in limited, but this card's fantastic, and I've had a
It's
blast
really
with it.
strong. Yeah.
And you shouldn't just be like, oh, it's an equipment, I shouldn't play it because it doesn't auto equip. This is actually a really good one, and it doesn't cost very much. So anyway, big fan of Atomic Microsizer. I'm so glad you also love it. So yeah, we had a
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like I felt like it was probably good enough to at least try. So I was never gonna cut it, but I was like curious
Like
to see what was gonna happen, and
super
then
impressive.
won me a few games and was just overall really solid. So
Yeah.
um cool. That's a great pick. My underrated card is for Constructed again. And I was, again, I'm just kind of thinking this card might fly through a few people's radars, though I could see a world where people are like, no, I love that card. Um, but I picked Lumen class Frigate. Frigate.
I've been saying
Uh,
Frigate, but yeah.
yeah. Frigate.
Yeah.
It's one and a white for a spacecraft with station. If you get two, then other creatures you control get +1/+1. And if you get 12, then it's flying lifelink 3/5. I think this card could be the reason like mono white sort of creature based aggro decks can come back, or at least a big part of it, because it like we talked about previously, Station lets you use your creatures more efficiently. And one of the problems with those aggro decks is they don't have haste, and the red aggro decks are full of haste, and so they're just faster. This is a way to kind of use that and immediately gain damage from it. Like obviously you had to take some time to play this at some point. But then later down the road, creatures you play can actually contribute by stationing. And this is a station card that they would actually want. And then it gives you some reach at the end of the day, where it's like I'm not that susceptible to board wipes because you wipe my board. I could just play a creature, turn this into a creature, and then get you in the air for three. Um, I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot going on here for that specific type of deck. Now, it's possible you never see this card because that deck's just not good. But there's some cards for that kind of game plan that exist. I'm thinking one of my all-time one card that has just gone up and up and up for me, which is the oh God, the 1/3 that has
Oh,
mobilized two.
Voice of Victory? Yeah.
Voice of Victory, yeah. I'm just like these types of cards exist for this kind of deck to just be awesome. And obviously, this is awesome with that card because when those mobilized tokens are 2/2s, that's different, completely different can of worms. Um, so I'm kind of eyeing this of like well, here's my starting point: four Voice of Victory, four Lumen class, Frigate. What's the rest of the deck? I don't know, a bunch of planes maybe, but
For Cosmo Grand Zeniths. And
yeah,
then
four. I don't know. A card's kind of expensive, but I'll play at least two.
I do like the idea of like turn 4, you play Lumen Class and you play a 2-drop. And then
Right.
with 2 power, you immediately, pump your team.
Right? Isn't that a nice little play pattern?
That's an amazing for like turn 4. Especially if you played Cosmo Grand Zenith on turn 2, because then you made a bunch of creatures or counters. But the other cool thing is just like, or it's not a cool thing, sorry, but I 100% think that this is underrated. I have not seen people talk about it, and the big thing is because anthem effects are often at 3 mana. This is at 2 mana,
Right.
and
And they've
most of the
printed so many bad ones recently where it's like, yeah.
we've had like the normal whatever glorious anthems and stuff like that, and oftentimes the 2 mana ones have huge restrictions, which are like only creatures of a certain type get +1/+1 or whatever. And this one just
Yeah.
says have a 2 like power creature tap 1 time. Like
I
your
think this
deck
card
can
is
do
better
it.
than one and a white enchantment creatures you control get +1/+1. I think this card is better than that.
Okay, all right. I
Yeah.
think that's
Because
I think it might be interesting and debatable just with the enchantment
Yeah, I think
type.
it's not like strictly better,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think it's generally better. Like I'd prefer to have the thing that can turn into
The
the
reach.
creature in the late
Hmm.
game
Yeah,
rather than the enchant. Because, well, maybe I'm coming from a world where enchantments are so easy to destroy too that I'm just like,
possibly. It's just depending on
yeah.
the like the mono. If you're talking about the mono white versus mono red matchup, obviously
Mhm.
this artifact is a lot easier to blow up for them because they
Yeah.
could
It
already
does
be
have
playing.
lifelink though.
But if they're playing main deck of Braid, it's a lot like.
Yeah,
Would
you just
you
have enough creatures they need to abrade, like they got to abrade Voice of Victory and
for
stuff
sure,
like that.
for sure, for sure. I just mean like if you have
Or
time to
maybe this renders their abrades useless, so they have to kill this.
possibly, yeah, where they know like, okay, well, I can't kill any of the other stuff because if this turns into a creature.
Right. Now it's
But
a
at
two
the
four kind of thing.
yeah, but at the same time, um, against a mono red hasty deck, does the mono white deck have time to station this, or are they just going to die by tapping their creatures?
Yeah. If you have life linkers, though, giving them buffs is a big game. I don't know. It's
That's true.
interesting. Like, I think the default right now is obviously mono red is the way to play
Yeah,
if you want to
I
play
guess
these
like
kind of aggro decks. But
I'm literally fighting for a card or a deck that doesn't exist, right? So
yeah.
I'm like, oh, we should play this other card instead, but it doesn't exist. So it's like, no, you play the card that you have in the format. It's obviously this one.
But
Um,
yeah, I think this card is pretty
I
interesting. I wouldn't be
I
that
agree.
surprised if you start to see mono white creature decks, you know,
Yeah,
jumping
there's definitely
because of
some pieces. There's definitely some
some of the help
pieces.
they're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
And,
great stuff,
no more
man.
temporary lockdown is helpful.
Yeah. The news Pinnacle Star Cage does some stuff, and it does get rid of this cards in particular, but um,
Yeah, I would restart the charge counters, right? Even if
it
you
would
killed,
would
if
which
you
would
got
be
it back.
annoying. So then, like when you get it back, you still have to tap something, but hopefully you have something else to tap, and you could do that sorcery speed. But they don't you don't care if they're summoning sick or whatever. But anyway, uh, great stuff, man. This set looks pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play some more of it. New Magic sets, always excited for, and can't wait to see what's happening in the beyond.
Ooh.
Yeah, the edging is over. We are now here. Finally, we can come to the eternities.
Oh
Jeff, are
yeah,
you are you ready for last call?
I am.
Fantastic. So, as always, we rate the beers that we drink on this podcast on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. However, this is just a fun way to rate beers. So, this has nothing to do with what tier you are in currently. So, don't feel bad when we say that bronze beers are trash. They're horrible. You pour them on the ground, you spit them out, they're disgusting.
Yeah, silver beers are bad or just kind of boring.
Yeah, gold beers are fine, but you wouldn't really think about drinking them again.
Platinum is solid. You would totally drink it again.
Diamond beers are exceptional. You like these a lot, and you show them off to your friends.
And mythic, these are the absolute best of the best. These are the Cosmo Grand Zeniths of the beer world.
We were drinking cactus juice this evening,
Hmm.
and what a fitting name for this,
Yeah.
because boy, did it taste like juice.
Yeah.
It sure did. I know that this is probably not hitting the mark that Jeff is hoping. Jeff, in particular, cares about beers tasting primarily like beer and then maybe a little bit like juice. This one felt much closer to, yes, like a cider or like a juicy beer. However, I would like to say that the sour component was very tasteful and not
Mhm.
overpowering and candy like. It had much more of the flavors of, I mean, like, I don't know if cactus necessarily is what I'm thinking, but it gave fruit vibes.
I
And
I don't know like if it's just because it says prickly pear or whatever, but I get
mhm.
pear when I was drinking it because I was like, yeah, it
Okay.
definitely tastes like pear.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if that's what cactus tastes like. Probably not.
I guess I haven't really eaten a prickly pear cactus or any cactus to be fair. So,
Right. Um, but it had that peary vibe of
mhm,
it's a little sweet, but it's not overly sweet. It has some other stuff going on. And
totally.
um, I agree. I really appreciated that it didn't taste like a Warhead or like a sour Jolly Rancher kind of thing on the sour component. That really did taste like they put some yeast in here to get a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of funk to it and not,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
feels very
we
natural.
we melted Jolly Ranchers or whatever. So I did appreciate that, but yeah, at the end of the day, it didn't line up, as you said, with the type of sours that I enjoy. Although I think these are kind of the sours that are more popular. So I'm not surprised to see them make this. The
Mm-hmm.
type of sours that I like, which are, beer forward with sort of that funky vibe to them, seem to be going by the wayside a little bit. There's still some that make them well, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that everybody makes anymore or like
Yeah,
tries anymore. It's kind of like these people do it. Everyone
yeah.
else, their sours are juice.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked it. I thought, given that I was kind of expecting a juice sour, it was it tasted like pear to me, but it tasted
Mm-hmm.
like the fruit, and it wasn't too much on the
Yeah.
it wasn't too candy like that's a
Mm-hmm.
perfect way to describe it. That being said, for me, it's gold. Like
Yeah.
that was fine, but I won't ever order this.
I would probably say that this is probably platinum for me just because I do like this style more than you do.
Yeah,
So that is super tasty. Like this a lot. And my sister also enjoys beers that are similar to this. So maybe if she's in town, I'll show this to her. She would
right. You
enjoy
could be
that.
like, hey,
Yeah,
you might like this.
exactly. But yeah, so platinum and gold for the beer for this evening. But let's go to closing time. As always, you can reach us at Arena Regulars on Instagram and Blue Sky.
May also find us on Arena itself under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at the regular underscore Zach. That's on Instagram and TikTok and all the different places. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is our Discord channel. I go by Regular Jeff there. It's a great place to, share your stories of new drafts or constructed events, hear what other people are trying in this brand new world that we're entering. And once a month, we run a commons and uncommons only Magic Arena draft. It's super fun. It's a great cube. It's well designed, and it lets you use up some of those common and uncommon wild cards. The link to join our Discord channel is in the show notes.
That's right. Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify. Leave us a review there as well. We love to hear all of your feedback, and it means a lot to us. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you, don't sleep on station. It's a big part of the limited format.
Good night. All right, that's fine.